Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, dear audience. Today we are meeting in lesson number 4, which is about mediator and moderator variables. A mediating variable, also known as mediator, explains the process through which two variables are related. Moderating variables, also known as moderator, affects the strength and direction of the relationship between two variables. Moderating variables can be qualitative or nominal, like race, socioeconomic class, or sex. It can be quantitative or numerical values, like weight, reward level, or age. A moderating variable changes the strength or direction of an effect between two variables x and y. In an experiment, the dependent variable is usually the variable which gets affected, whereas the independent variables affect the dependent variables. Researchers usually measure or test by changing the independent variables to know its effect on the dependent variable. Independent variable is the one which changes the position, the status, or measurement of the dependent variable in the experiment. Moderator and mediator are two independent variables which researchers specify to show relationship between the variables. Difference between moderator and mediator variables. The moderating variables affect the other variables by putting their impacts on the other variables, whereas mediating variables show the relationship between the variables by explaining the causal relationship. A mediator explains how or why an independent variable affects a dependent variable, acting as a causal link in the relationship. A moderator changes the strength or direction of the relationship between two other variables. In this diagram or figure, there are two research variables. You have the independent variables and the dependent variables. The moderator variables affect the status or the position or direction of the interaction between independent variables and dependent variables, whereas the mediator variables only mediates and tells why independent variables and how it affects the dependent variables. We have one important examples about two variables, the socio-economic status, which is an independent variable, and the child reading ability. Here, the mediator variable is the parental education levels. How does it tell us, how does it show, or how does it tell us about the interaction between the two variables? First of all, uh, the parental education level helps in this situation in the following. By creating of a supportive home literacy environment through the access of books and complex language, and the structured parental engagement in reading and learning activities, and also educated parents are, are having expectation which will influence the goals of their children. Moderating variables. There are two examples here for the moderating variables. The first example is moderating social support. High stress level can lead to negative health outcome like depression. This one depends on the social support. In the presence of a strong social support, high stress level can have a positive health outcome with individuals. So here, the moderating variables, the way how it moderates, it depends on the strength of the variable itself. Another example is the dietary intake, which can affect the risk of developing certain diseases. Certain human beings are having an inherent specific genetic variations, and this genetic variation will expose or make them to have a higher risk of becoming obese. For example, some people have fat mass and obesity associated proteins, and this one actually will influence the direction of the relationship between the specific genetic variation and the higher risk of getting obesity. In conclusion, in statistical research, a mediator variable explains how or why an independent variable X influences a dependent variable Y by acting as an intermediary link in the causal chain. This is a variable that is itself affected by the dependent variables and in turn affects the dependent variables. Again, a moderator variable is a third variable that alters the strength, direction, or magnitude of the relationship between an independent variable and the dependent variable. Thank you to attend and participate in this session. See you in the next session.